with us and you pass the classroom part, you get a green card. And the green card follows your student when they get their learner's permit and they're driving for about 8 months, and then they say, I'm ready to go take the driving part, and you get to go down and pay the $300 and something so they can take the driving part.
$295.
The driving instructor says, where is your green card? Because you cannot take the driving test to get your license unless you passed the classroom part. And that green card is the classroom part to get your license. This meeting is a requirement of the classroom part. So that's why it's really important that you sign in so you get credit for tonight. And now you know that the green card is not attached to the learner's permit at all. So a student can get their learner's permit when they turn 15 in 6 months. They can take this class when they're 14, 13, 16, it doesn't matter. But they can't go get the license at 16 and 3 months until they pass this class. The other thing is this, because it's an inconvenience sometimes to go to the DMV to take the learner's permit test, we offer it here at the high school twice a year. So out on the table, we put these flyers. If your student is 15 and 6 months, we have a class that's going to be, we have one of the tests that's going to be given on October 25th. If they won't be 15 and 6 months until springtime, February or so, we're going to have another test here. So they take the vision and they take the knowledge. And if they pass, they get their learner's permit right there. And then they have it for 9 months. And we'll get into that in a couple minutes. So I wanted to go over those things to make sure you understand, to make sure you sign in, what the green card was, and that we offer the learners here at the high school. Okay? All right, we are going to begin the presentation now.
Thank you. I'd like to ask everybody to please silence or preferably turn off your cell phones. Give me a moment for that. Good evening. Welcome to the Fluvanna County High School Driver Safety Night. My name is Mike Arnold, and I am a Rotarian in the Fluvanna Rotary Club. The Driver Safety Night is a cooperative effort between your high school and the Fluvanna Rotary Club. Why are we here? Before starting this seminar in the fall of 2007, Fluvanna County High School averaged a student death each year to a motor vehicle crash, one a year for 10 years. We have dangerous roads in the county. They have high speed limits, they are narrow, they are heavily crowned with no curbs or lights. Just beyond the painted line, one can usually find an open ditch or a tree. This observation is quantified by an examination of the Division of Motor Vehicles website, which has over 70 pages of detailed crash information in Virginia for each year, and is viewable by you, the general public. One observation is the death rate per 1,000 drivers on rural Virginia roads is significantly higher than in cities. As an example, when this seminar started, Fluvanna County had a death rate per 1,000 drivers of 0.65. Specifically 12 fatalities out of 18,519 licensed drivers. In comparison, the city of Charlottesville that same year had a death rate per 1,000 drivers of 0.04. One fatality out of 25,960 licensed drivers. Our death rate was 16 times higher. We have improved greatly, but one death is too much. Our statistical rate is improving, but we still have a lot of work to do. This is why we are here, to help you with information for both the driver in training and, just as important, for the parents who are trying to teach these students how to drive. Regarding the Fluvanna Rotary Club, which is sponsoring this seminar, Some of you may not be familiar with Rotary and are asking, what is Rotary about? Rotary is a civic service organization made up of business people who care about their community. We met with your school principal and the driver's ed teachers, and the idea of this seminar was developed. Rotarians live their life, both professionally and personally, by something we call the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, we first ask, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? In the spirit of our four-way test, the information you will receive tonight is truthful, and we hope you find it to be beneficial. We have assembled a panel of expert speakers who were carefully selected based on their skills and expertise. Our first speaker is Virginia State Trooper Anthony Clore. Trooper Clore has been a state police trooper since 2005 and was assigned to patrol Fluvanna County Division III, Area 19, and is currently assigned to the Virginia State Police Motor Carrier Unit. Before joining the Virginia State Police, Trooper Clore was a deputy in the Fluvanna County Sheriff's Office. And his dedication to the people of Fluvanna County is further witnessed by the fact that Trooper Clore is also the pastor at Fork Union Baptist Church. Please welcome Trooper Anthony Clore.
Can everybody hear me all right? Yeah. I'm a preacher. I got a big mouth, so I think I can handle without a microphone. I might move around a little bit. So we're trying to, we got to get the computer back up and running. I don't know what happened with that. So
We need a password.
okay. I'll be kind of lost without that. But this is what I'll tell you. I know everybody's busy, and so I just want to tell you I appreciate you being here, even though I don't think we had a whole lot of choice in the matter. I know I've got 2 middle schoolers and a kindergartner, and it seems like every night there's somewhere to be. Every weekend there's somewhere to be, and I know it's hectic. And when you probably found out you had to be here tonight, you were probably like, "Are you kidding me?" Like another night, I've got to go somewhere, I've got to run somewhere. But this program, me and Mr. Arnold were talking about this evening. We were walking in, and I hate to say knock on wood, but knock on wood, this program has been proven. It's proven to be working, and so since we've been doing this seminar, not that it's us, it's just this information that we have got together, and we stopped to kind of educate ourselves and to kind of see what's causing some of the crashes with our young people and what's happening. We've seen the numbers start to go down, and so praise God for that. So I'm just happy that that's happened. So this program is worthwhile. So it's worth the time. I know we're already here, so just try to take some notes, or just at least maybe even some of the slides if we can ever get it back up there. If they, take a picture with your phone of the slides or some of the information, because I'm going to try to breeze through it as quick as I can. So I can tell you, being here in the county since I was a Fluco. I graduated in 1999 from Fluvanna High School, from the old high school, which is now the middle school, and my whole career has been spent working in this county, and unfortunately I've had to work those fatalities. I've worked those accidents with people that I know, that I went to school with, friends of mine, people that I went to church with, where I go to the scene and I see somebody who wasn't only somebody I knew, or somebody that was somebody else's loved one, but it was mine. And so this is near and dear to my heart, because if I never have to knock on somebody's door again and give them the worst news that they could ever get, they can't pay me enough to do that. And so if we can just save one time that somebody doesn't have to go do that, and somebody doesn't have to get that kind of news, it's all worth it. So that being said, I've stalled long enough. So okay. I'm going to go over 4 main topics, and I'm going to try to breeze through it as soon as I can. If I can remember my own information, the first thing is we're going to go over some statistics. We're going to go over the contributing factors in crashes. We'll go on to the next slide for me. Not put any pressure on you. All right. Contributing factors in crashes, other road hazards, and the use of seatbelts. So let's go ahead. We'll keep breezing through. I've got a lot of information. You're going to hear a lot of information from the other speakers and everything. So I'm going to try not to beat you to death and bore you to death with a bunch of stats. But I think it's important to give you what I've got. So just bear with me. Crashes, number one, is the leading cause of death. You can read that among Virginians under the age of 30. In 2017, just here in Virginia, there was 843 fatalities. All right, when we say 843 fatalities, it doesn't sound as bad as 843 people that were killed. Okay, and so we name them, it's a fatal, or it's a fatal crash, or whatever. This is 843 people right here in just the state of Virginia that were killed on our roadways. Talking about teens, going over some stats and this, and that's what we're focused on tonight, parents. Nationwide, I don't know if you can read that, but approximately 3,000 teens every year are killed. Again, you think about the whole nation, like, oh, 3,000 out of all how many people? That's 3,000 teenagers that left home and never came back. 3,000 teenagers, some of them could have been leaving church, some of them could have been coming back from sports practice, some of them could have been running errands for their parents, and they never came home. That's a big number, 3,000. 350,000 approximately every year are treated in the emergency room for injuries related to motor vehicle crashes. 16-year-olds have a higher death rate than a higher crash rate than any other age group. So out of all the age groups, a 16-year-old driver is the most likely to have a crash. So even, sometimes I think like elderly people are probably more dangerous, but that's not true. All right, so 16-year-olds, I guess everybody here is probably around 15 right now. Is that about right?
Yeah.
All right, okay, because you're going in your learners and everything. So 16 years old when somebody's cut loose is the most dangerous time for that person to be on the road. 2017, out of that 843 people that were killed, 42 were teenagers. Also in 2017, there were 10 of those teenagers out of the 42 were involved with alcohol. Somehow alcohol was related to the crash. Vehicle crashes are the leading public health problem between ages 13 and 19. If you don't remember anything else on this slide that we have up here, I know there's a lot of information, but I want you to remember that last one that I've got underlined. This is what it says. 16 and 17-year-old driver death rates increase with each additional passenger. So the law is going to put a limit on what your child, parents can, what your new driver, how many people they can have with them, and when they can have passengers and all those things. They're going to have curfew or whatever. And they're going to have all that, they're going to know all that, and you're going to know all that. But there are times where you can allow them to drive with passengers or whatever. And even when they get a little bit older, all through high school, if they do not have to have a passenger riding with them, I wouldn't allow it. Because unfortunately, the stats have proven that when you put multiple teenagers in a car, the chance of them having a fatal crash is like skyrockets. And I think about it back when, you think, well, I don't know, how do they know that? Well, I know, looking back from my experience, when I was a teenager, driving around on these roads, I grew up on a farm, I knew how to drive, I was a pretty good driver most of the time, but you put one of my friends beside me in my pickup, all of a sudden I've got something to prove, don't I? Now, I don't know if the girls are like that. The girls would probably be, distracted and laughing and everything like that, but guys, young men especially, we've got this thing called testosterone, and we want to prove something. And we want to prove that our car can go faster. Maybe we can drive better than somebody else. And sometimes they're afraid to be daring us to do. I can remember my friends telling me, pass that school bus. Pass them. I know it's double solid, pass it. And there were some times where my friend was probably wishing they wouldn't have got in the car with me, because even though they weren't daring me to do something, I thought I had to prove something. And so the moral of the story is, do not, you might save their life. Don't allow them to have passengers if they don't have to. Okay, Mike? All right. Some of the contributing factors to crashes. Number one, your teenager does not have the experience that you have behind the wheel. This experience that you and I have behind the wheel, who have been driving for years and years, we take it for granted. And so we've had to deal with tailgaters, we've had to deal with children playing near the edge of the road that we thought were going to run out the road, maybe bicyclists around a curve when you come around a curve, or whatever it may be. Maybe a line of traffic stopped all of a sudden on a hill crest on 15 when you weren't expecting it. All those things that we deal with while we're driving creates these little muscle memory in our brain. We don't even realize it. So we don't even realize that we're driving along and we're thinking, okay, remember that time that I almost got rear-ended here? I need to get my turn signal a little bit sooner. These little things. Remember that time I almost lost it in this curve? I need to slow down a little bit. And so your teenager doesn't have any of that. So they're going to be building that. And they're going to be building some of that when they're with the learners. But when they're on their own, they're not going to have the experience. They're just going to be living on faith, all right? And so that is a huge contributing factor with teenagers. Number two is speed. In 2017, out of those 843 people that were killed, In those crashes, 318 of those crashes were speed related. Okay, so that's really almost half of the fatalities were caused because people were just going too fast. Now, what a teenager will do, what your teenager is probably going to do, if they were like me and most other teenagers, they're going to take speed and they're going to mix it with lack of experience. So, what two dangerous things there, and they make it twice as dangerous. So you need to be, watching them in this instructional phase, and just say, look, just because the speed limit is 55 doesn't mean you have to go 55, especially when you're new. And I'm telling you, when you look on 53, some of the roads we have around here, even 45 on some of the roads like 618 during rush hour and Lake Monticello Road and South Boston and all that. I mean, 45 is almost too fast because you never know with all the gates and the lake and all that stuff where you're going to come up on and everything else. So this is something that we're going to talk to parents a little bit here, but you need to start setting the example as well. Like they need to see you. Most people, they think the speed limit's 55, so they'll say, well, I can go probably 63 or 64, and I know nobody's, the trooper's not going to stop me. They're going to stop the guy that's going 70, right, or whatever, 67, or whatever. So your children are watching this, okay? They see that, and they know that, and they're automatically going to do the same thing. So just start, kind of lead by example in that. All right, running off the road and overcorrecting. This is a major, not just with teenagers, but a major contributing factor to crashes, especially in rural counties like Fluvanna. I am not an accident reconstruction expert. I'm not anything like that, but I can tell you, when I roll up on a scene of an accident and I see the skid marks and I see dirt torn up on the right side of the road, and then I see yaw marks and skid marks that go into the other lane, and they go around, and then I see a vehicle into a tree or into an embankment or overturned or whatever, I can already tell that vehicle ran off the road to the right. They got off the road, and instead of doing what they're supposed to do, letting off the gas, ease up, slow down, ease back onto the roadway, they did what? They jerked the wheel, and they turned it all the way. And the wheel's sitting there spinning in the dirt, and it's not getting traction. And when it does get traction, it shoots them across the other side of the road. And then they got to spin it back all the way the other way. And when they do that, the weight transfer kicks in, and science kicks in, the back of that car kicks around, and there's no control. And then you're just along for the ride and hoping you're not going to run into something that's going to kill you. So that is a major one. So, that's something else you need to go over, and I think the driver's ed instructor's going to talk about that a little bit. Distractions. Passengers, we talked about that. Cell phones, this is a big thing. Obviously, we know it's illegal to text and drive and all those things. If they, they might even talk about this later, they have devices now that will enable or disable your child's phone while they're driving. So those things are on the market, so I'm sure you can probably find it on Amazon. I don't know. But music, a lot of times when I was in high school, we had CDs. That was the coolest thing out. And I had a CD player in my truck, and we were flipping through the CDs, and we were looking at it, whatever. And at least at that point in my life, when I was looking at CD, when I was kind of focused on the road. But where is all their music now? It's in their phone, right? And everybody's got the little cord. They're going to plug it in or whatever. They're going to Bluetooth or whatever. And so the problem with this is you're going to look down while you're driving to find your favorite song, and you're going to get killed. So just watch them, lead by example in that. Well, they don't need to be messing with the radio. They don't need to be messing with their phone, any of that stuff, especially when they're with you and when they're learning from you. All right, following too closely. You can go ahead to the next slide. Running off the road, overcorrecting, all the things we kind of talked about up to this point is just assuming that you're on the road by yourself. These are just crashes. It's just a single vehicle, and the driver messes up and does something and wrecks, okay? But following too closely, just like we talked about with running off the road and overcorrecting being one of the major contributing factors to crashes with single vehicles, when it becomes one or two or more vehicles involved, following too closely is that major contributing factor. We see it all the time on 53, we see it all the time on 15, you see it on the interstate where people are just simply too close to the car that's in front of them. You see the stats here, 32,522 reportable crashes just in Virginia caused by following too closely. Now, a reportable crash is got to be over $1,000 damage or someone has to be injured. So this isn't even counting all the little fender benders and the little ones that didn't even fall into the books, okay? Which is probably triple that. So most crashes involving two vehicles are caused by following too closely. Okay, Mike? All right. Other road hazards, especially in a rural county. Has anybody had to endure trying to get to Charlottesville or Richmond from the lake or from home when it's been snow on the snow on the road? Have you seen the chaos that is in this county when a little bit of snow hits the road? This is a major thing. So you have to start talking to them. If they don't have a chance to drive with you when it's snowing or raining or any of those things, you need to be talking to them about it. Say, look, now I'm going up to this stop sign right now, and I can wait a little bit longer to hit my brakes or whatever, but understand, if it was snowing or if it was raining even, I'd have to be slowing down way back there. And this is how I would do it. And you just show them these things so they understand it, so they don't just go up to the stop sign and expect their vehicle to stop when there's snow or some black ice or anything like that on the road and expect it to stop like it would when the pavement is dry and hot. Along with rain, snow, ice, fog, all those things, comes trees that could be across the road, power lines that could be across the road, standing water that could be there. And so these are things, again, they need to hear from you while they're driving. You say, look, now if it was raining and you're going over this hill between Troy Post Office and Zion's Crossroads with all those hills, we have to understand you don't know what's over the other side of that hill. There could be a power line that's still sparking, that's hanging across the road. There could be a tree across the road. And so just kind of start talking to them about those things and to be thinking ahead of what's right in front of them. With animals, this is another major factor here. Everybody here has probably hit a deer before or really come close to it or been hit by a deer. I don't know. I've torn up more police cars with deer than I have in pursuits and all the other things that happen. But do not, and make sure they know this, do not run off the side of the road and run into an embankment that's not going to move, or run through a board fence that's going to come through the windshield, run into a 100-year-old oak tree just to spare a deer's life. Okay, there are plenty of them to go around. Okay, and many of your flower beds have probably suffered because of that. So, and obviously, a deer could it hurt you? Yes, but you are less likely to be injured by a deer hitting your car than you are swerving off the road and hitting a tree or going into the lane and hitting someone. So you just talk to them and say, look, what you do is you try to avoid it, you hit the brakes, you stay in a straight line, and what happens is going to happen. And now, obviously, if there's nobody coming, you're on a long straight stretch, you can go into the lane and go around them. Use common sense. But just, I have worked so many crashes. I worked a crash one day where a lady was literally getting put out on a gurney and a stretcher and was going to the hospital because she was swerving to miss a squirrel in the road. Okay, and so it's just try to get your brain around the fact that there's enough animals to go around. It'll be okay. All right. So, seatbelt laws. The driver in Virginia and all front seat passengers are required by law to wear their seatbelt. If you didn't know that, I don't know what cave you've been living in, but now you know. All right. So I'm glad I can tell you that you are required to wear your seatbelt. Passengers under the age of 18 must use a seatbelt regardless of where they are sitting in the car. And I want you to hear that because I want your young drivers to hear this part right here. The driver is responsible for anybody under the age of 18 that's not wearing their seatbelt. So what this means is if I stop your team and one of their friends is in the back and they're not wearing their seatbelt, guess who gets the ticket for them? Me? That would be the driver, that would be you, yes. So whoever is driving that car is going to get the ticket. Just like if there was an infant in the back that wasn't in a car seat, the driver gets the ticket. We're not going to write an infant a ticket, okay? So whoever is driving, and there's anybody under the age of 18, the driver is responsible for it. And I tell you that to tell you this. When I was in high school, the last thing that I would have ever done is say, hey man, you might want to buckle up for safety. That's not something that teenagers do with each other. They're not going to be the seat. Most of them, I say that, I wasn't. They don't even think about it because you think you're invincible. And so they're not going to sit with their friend and say, for safety reasons, let's buckle up. Make sure we wear it the right way. So use this to your advantage. So teens, when your friend doesn't want to buckle up, you say, look, you get out. If you don't want to buckle up, get out. I'm not getting a ticket for you. All right, so even if that's what you got to use it because that's a good tool. Okay. Some other seatbelt laws. Out of the 42 teenagers in 2017 that were killed, 32 or 34 were not wearing their seatbelt. Okay. Now, I can tell you that I have worked so many fatalities, unfortunately, so many crashes where people were killed. And I got there and it was a simple crash. It was a simple rear ender or or they just ran off the road and they ended up being ejected out of the car, and then the car rolled over them or whatever, where if they would have been buckled up, they would have lived. There wasn't even much damage to the car. And I hear people say, well, yeah, but I was in a crash one time, and the doctor told me if I was wearing my seatbelt, I wouldn't have lived. And so now I don't wear my seatbelt. And I'm sure those circumstances are out there, but I've never seen them. And you're far more likely to be killed not wearing your seatbelt than you are wearing it. And so take that for what you will. The numbers speak for themselves. Go back for just a second for me, Mike. I know I'm rambling on here. Teens have the lowest rate of seatbelt use, and proper seatbelt use reduces the risk of fatal injury by 45%. That's almost 50%. All right, go ahead. This is a picture from a crash. This truck was going about 35 or 40 miles per hour on a rural road. Ran off the road, overcorrected, hit an oak tree, just like we were talking about earlier. And you look at the steering wheel, what do you notice with that? All right, this is a late 80s. This is a late 80s to early 90s Ford pickup. It was still made of pretty good stuff. It was a pretty solid truck. I don't know if you've ever tried to bend a steering wheel before, but they're made out of solid stuff, and it's hard for you to bend a steering wheel like that. And this was done with the driver's torso and his rib cage and his chest when he wasn't wearing his seatbelt, hit the tree, and went just at low speed and did that kind of damage. Okay, Mike? This is the same crash, and if you look, there's a big scar, and there's a little one up in the corner. The one up in the corner was the driver's head, and his shoulder and the torso, when he went over the steering wheel, went into the windshield. Same thing with a windshield. If you've ever looked, or if you ever, think about a windshield, it's made of layers upon layers of stuff that's made not to break. It's there to protect you from the road debris or whatever comes at you. And it takes a lot of force to do that kind of damage to a windshield. And it was done by this person's body and their head and his head. And he had major injuries. I was in a hospital for days and weeks because of this. And this was, to remind you, 35, 40 miles per hour. This was a fatality that was worked by another trooper friend of mine, and he sent me this picture a long time ago, and it's always stuck with me because I can't tell you how many people I stop and they have the seatbelt behind them, or they just have their arm out and they just have the lap belt on because they don't like the way it feels. And I put this in here because this driver had the seatbelt buckled behind him so the buzzer wouldn't go off. Okay. Now I know that's obvious. It's not going to work if you don't wear it. Okay. And so, but I put that in there to say this: if you don't wear it the way that it's designed to be worn, it's not going to work. It's not going to work the way it's designed to work. And so, make sure that parents, you're watching that, and also that you're leading by example on that and wearing it the way that it's supposed to be worn. They sell these little things you can put, on there to make it more comfortable in your neck or whatever. Make sure you wear your seatbelt the right way. All right, I'm going to end with some advice to the parents. I've got a few more years before I'm sitting where you are and having to deal with the stress of thinking about letting my children drive on these crazy roads. So all I can do is give you the best I've got. And that's this: you can take away your teen's privilege without anybody else's permission. Okay, and I shouldn't have to remind the parents, but I think nowadays we have to. All right, so if you have the right, you give them the right to drive, you can take it away. I remember when I was in high school again, the biggest tool my dad had was when I would walk in the house and he would say, so-and-so just called me and said you passed him on double solid line. Give me a license. You know, and the county's still that small, so people will be telling you when they see your teen messing up. And so, and then they get that freedom, and then they got to ride the school bus again or whatever. They're going to appreciate it a little bit more. Take it away from them. It might save their life. You know your teen's driving abilities, you know their maturity level. Just because they get that green paper that he was talking about, just because they get that shiny new license and the judge says you're good to go and all that, the drivers, they got a certificate and all that, does not mean that you have to cut them loose. So make them prove to you that they are ready to drive. And let them know that. Just say, when you're ready, I'll turn you loose. Let me hang on to that green piece of paper until you prove to me that you're ready. Know the laws of Virginia, parents. Follow them, lead by example, because studies have shown that your children, they're going to drive like you drive. If they see you rolling through the same stop sign because there's never anybody coming every morning, if they see you driving with your knee, drinking coffee and sending text messages or checking Snapchat or whatever, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to do it. They've grown up seeing us, all of our bad habits, and so they're going to do the same thing. My children even fuss at me sometimes. My phone will ring, and they'll say, Dad, don't look at your phone. And I'm like, you're right. And so they're watching you. And so just start thinking about that, lead by example of that. And if there's anything that I can do to help you in this process, like I said, I haven't set where you are yet, let me know. That concludes my part of it. But if I'll tell you this, if there's any questions you have, I'll be glad to stick around as long as we can, but we're going to try to keep rolling and get you out there. So thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Trooper Clore. Our next speaker really doesn't need to be introduced. You all know him, Coach Mike Sheridan. Coach Sheridan has been a teacher in Fluvanna County over 30 years, coaching, teaching. He's also been heavily involved in the volunteer fire department, the rescue squad, and in his spare time, he happens to be the chairman of the board of supervisors. So, welcome, Coach Sheridan.
All right, I'm going to be like Anthony. You know, I've been teaching a long time, so I'm going to ask this question. If you're a parent and I taught you, raise your hand. All right, it's not as many as I thought. Yeah.
That's for grandparents.
My God, I had that happen this year. Is there a grandparent here that I taught? One child walked up to me, his fifth grader, goes, "Go, Sherry, I'm in your class, I'm a fifth grader." And his mom goes, "I was in his class too." His dad goes, "I was in his class too, and so was my daddy." Pull it out. Oh God, I'm sticking it in my back. All right, folks, you know, Anthony came up here and did a great job, has that wonderful PowerPoint. I'm in the stands, I wrote mine on the back of the bankruptcy. There's one of those things about being technology challenged, that's the reason I'm in the gym. All right, what I also want to tell you is one of the other jobs that I have in this county is I also own the 14 Driving Academy. So Coach Sharmack was talking about all the things that you're going to have to do when you contact us to get your license. First thing you're going to do, you're going to call up the number. You're going to talk to my wife. First question she's going to ask is, your child got their learners? Then you're going to say, "Oh yeah, they got their learners." You'll be surprised. Sometimes folks will call that they haven't even gotten their learners yet. Okay? Second question is, have you completed the class at school? And they'll go, "No." Okay, when you complete the class, call us back. Because until your child has got the green card that Coach Sharmack was talking about, you cannot take the behind the wheel portion. We do not do the in-class, we do the behind the wheel portion. Next thing, here's one of the most important. My wife's going to say, if you've been driving with your child for 45 hours, folks, it takes me about 5 minutes before I know whether or not you're lying. I'm not pointing at anybody. I'll be riding, we'll take off, and if I got a child that's using their left foot on the brake and the right foot on the gas, they haven't driven 45 hours. Okay? I say 5 minutes, but give me 10. Within 10 minutes, I will know whether or not you've done your part. And Officer Clore, Trooper Clore has told you exactly. Please don't take this the wrong way. It's y'all's job to teach them. It's my job as a DMV employee to test them. I will be riding around with them for a week, 7 days. I'm going to correct